Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining AI Fridays. Um, this is Adnanul Hassan. Okay, so let's start formally. Welcome again, everyone. Thank you for joining AI Fridays by Lounge. And today we are happy to have Dr. Rabia Irfan. Uh, she's a faculty member at the School of Electrical Engineering and Computer Science at NUS University, and she did his PhD in data science and AI. So today she will be talking about a very interesting case, about the data cycle. And without further delaying, I would like to invite Dr. Rabia Irfan to start her presentation. Over to you, Dr. Rabia.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Adnan, for giving me the chance. So Assalamu alaikum everyone, and I welcome you all in this webinar related to the topic of demystifying data analytics. And what we'll be covering in this whole webinar, this is the agenda point that although Dr. Adnan has told already about me, so I'll briefly introduce myself, and I'll introduce you this course that we are about to offer in under the banner of AI Lounge. And I'll give you some introduction about the topic and the whole data analytics cycle, and will be covered a quick demo will also a demo code will also run based on the discussion that we will be doing during the webinar. So after that, QA session and discussion session will also be there. So moving forward, I am currently serving as assistant professor at SEEKS NUST, and besides, I also did my PhD from this dear school of mine. My PhD is in machine learning, data science, AI, but I also have interest in other domains like IoT. So these are my research interests. So I would like to introduce you about this course that we are offering AI Lounge. So basically, it's a 5-week course, and I have arranged the whole thing into 5 parts as well. So in the first part, obviously, we will be doing some introduction, and we'll try to understand what data analytics is, and we'll talk about the data sources that we have, and how to collect the data, and how to uh, what are the different challenges associated with today's data. And then in part 2, we will be exploring a very important component of data science and data analytics, which is exploratory data analysis, also called as EDA. And part 3 would be about some advanced steps of data analytics. Part 4 will be about data visualization. We'll build up a dashboard based on the knowledge that we will acquire in part 1, part 2, and part 3. And then part 5 will be a bonus kind of thing, because it talks about the text analytics, which is relatively different from the analytics that we perform on structured kind of tabulated data or data frames. So uh, these are the 5 components around which this whole course revolves, and each part will be having hands-on, and obviously, especially from part 2 and onwards, we'll be having extensive hands-on. But in part 1, obviously, we will be having a brief hands-on, because that's just an introductory part. The thing that I want to highlight over here is that I basically this course basically revolves around these steps, but what I'll be doing, I will take the case study of a healthcare domain, and I will take the COVID-19 data set in order to demonstrate this whole journey. And what I will be anticipating is to enable you guys uh, to so that you can build up a dashboard of your own based on this journey that you will be covering through this course. So this is about the objectives of the course and the scope of the course and the domain in which I will be working. Because in data analytics and in data science, the data is the most important thing. So if we need to specify that on which data we will be working. Obviously, in journal, we will see the whole steps, but using this case study. So this is a roadmap of the course. This is a 5-week course. You can check the course detail on the course website as well. However, as I said, that in 2-day classes in which first class will be more related to the theory and the second class will be more related to the hands-on. So the whole course is structured in this manner. This detail is also available on the course webpage. Uh, Briefly speaking, as I said that in the introductory part, we will be covering about what are the types of data, what are the different terminologies that exist in this domain, and things like that. We will introduce the data set, the tools and the environment in which we will be working throughout this journey. And then in part 2, as I said, that it's about a very important step in data science, which is called exploratory data analysis. And it basically covers the data cleaning and data pre-processing steps, as well as some statistical and some other techniques to identify the correlation and some sort of relationship that exists within the data. So in the advanced analytics steps, which is part 3, we will be covering techniques from the perspective of supervised learning and unsupervised learning techniques, in which we will be training our models so that we can make some useful prediction out of it. This is a kind of a machine learning touch to our this thing, and this can also, because these things are interrelated, so this can also help some of the machine learning oriented techniques are also being widely used in this cycle. So after that, we will be based on the whole working that we'll be doing till part 3. In part 4, I'll be using a Power BI to demonstrate the formation of a COVID-19 dashboard. I'm particularly obviously that will be decided with the passage of time, but that would cover some of the common things that you might see when you visit a dashboard for Pakistan government for COVID-19, but we will might be incorporate something related to the vaccination data and things like that to build up an interactive and interesting dashboard. I'll demonstrate you that. And then the text analytics part, as I said that this part will give you a glimpse of some of the natural language processing techniques and how they are used to tune in the text data, which is kind of unstructured data, and how we used to get some insight from this. Maybe you have lots of text documents and they are not in a structured form and not in a tabulated form, and you want to analyze them, then you will incorporate or you will touch some of the natural language things into it, and NL TK natural language processing library for Python will be using in this part. So that's how the whole course will be structured, and that's a detailed roadmap of our course, which you will also find on the course website. So regarding the course attendees, we will be the course is targeting the beginner to intermediate level participants, and they could be students, researchers, professionals, healthcare people, because sometimes they are also interested in technology and the usage of the technology in order to because they are the actual owner of the data. So it's if they can understand these aspects of technology, then they it can be very fruitful for them as well. So these are the course this could be the course attendees. After that, I'll quickly move towards the introduction of this whole topic and what is there in this whole field. And you could have heard about this thing that the data is growing, and the speed with which the data is growing is it's so rapid that we could even not analyze that in journal, because um, even if we look at one domain, like here is an example of healthcare domain, that 2 terabyte of data can be generated from a human body based on different sensors attached to the body, and based on the different readings related to the stress level, heart level, sugar, blood pressure, things like that. So even a single human being can generate this much amount of 2 terabytes per day of data. So you can well imagine the kind of people, the amount of the population of the world. And if because people are moving towards these wearable technologies, the smart devices, the smart health monitoring devices. So it's just an example of one domain for one person, that you can imagine that how much data a person is generating. And this is only one source which that person is using. There are so many other sources that person might be using in a day. He might be using his cell phone, social media. Through social media platform, he would be generating large amount of data. So maybe some of the other IoT domains like smart home. So the data is the amount of data is huge, and it's rapidly growing. So the tools should cater this much amount of data, and should discover some meaningful insight from these data. So as I said, that why this growth of data is there, it's because of this. We are occupied with so many sensors and embedded systems in our life, and some of them are even those in which we won't even realize that we are producing the data, but they are actually producing so much data because they are embedded hidden sensors. They are sensing your movement, sensing your presence, but you won't realize that this data is actually generated. And the increased usage of social media is also a very contributing factor. Growing e-commerce and advancement in the health technologies, all these are the sources of are the reason behind the growth of data. So according to one perspective, it's actually all about data now, because data is everywhere. And if you won't use this data effectively, then that data would be of no use to you. So um, if the large amount of data is there, then that large amount of data can only be meaningful for you, and can only be a source of some information for you if you transform it accordingly, and if you process it accordingly, so that you can extract certain meaning out of it. Otherwise, if you're not processing it, if you're not trying to extract any meaning out of it, then that data which is producing in large amount is of no use for you, and it's actually useless. So the data analysis is actually a process that actually cleans, transformed, and model the data to discover the useful information from it, so that it can assist the business people in making the decision. It can even assist common people in making their decisions. That's why processing and transformation of data by using these data analytics techniques is very much stressed these days. So there are numerous application of data analytics that you can see: the Amazon market, the recommendation system, some of the business insight tools, the recommender system provided by Netflix, the cyber security system, Splunk providing assistance to the government to detect some malicious activities, healthcare systems which are constantly monitoring and predicting some health hazard for their patients, and Some other, e-government and e-commerce related areas could be a vast variety of applications in which this data analytics can be performed, can be, used, and is actually, it's not can be used, it's actually being used. And these some of the example systems which are using it and making up, millions and millions of dollar, generating millions and millions dollar of revenue every day. So since we are talking about data and this whole story revolves around data, so I would like to tell you that data has three main types. Data could be structured, it could be semi-structured, and it could be in the unstructured form. So structured data is something which is very much tabulated, which is some operational data from your database. If you guys have, ever encountered some database tables, especially relational database table, you could have seen they are organized in the form of rows and columns. And probably if you haven't encountered any database and you could have encountered any Excel sheet, you could have made any Excel sheet in which you have made some rows and columns. That's a structured form of data. Some of the data which are generated by the machines automatically are also structured because they are recorded, they are tagged, they are they are linked to in a way that they can be traced back. So semi-structured data is a kind of data which is partially in a order, but some of the things are in order, but some of the other things are not in order, or not in a structure, or not organized in any structure. So you need to work out and you need to bring them into some sort of structure in order to utilize them. So as temporal data, spatio-temporal data, space-related data, time-stamp data generated from different sensors, they are example of semi-structured data. Then there is a large amount of data. The major percentage of data that we have today is unstructured form of data, which is actually real-time sensor-based data, and the text, a huge amount of text-based data is also unstructured because the text is written, but no structured is there, no structure is there in that data, which is transformable for the machine to perform some computation. So if you want the machine to perform some computation on unstructured data, you need to go through some sort of processing to bring it into a form which is readable and understandable by the machine, and which should be structured enough to be understandable by the machine. So then I have chosen in this, in explaining you this journey of in explaining you this journey of data analytics, I will be using the case study of the healthcare domain. And the healthcare domain also has vast variety of applications which are there. So uh, uh, although I have thought to answer all the questions at the end, but since we are given a question related to the type of data over here. So yes, it's the COVID-19 data is a kind of data that I'll be using in this course, is a kind of a structured data, but it is a time-stamp data. It is a time series data. So you can say that it's according to this categorization, we'll be dealing with structured data. But this structured data is basically dealing with the time stamping, and even it can covers the regions detail. So in one way, you can say that it is dealing with the space and time stamping, but it is actually totally structured data that we will be using. So that was a question that was being asked by Tehreem. So I just answered it, and if any confusion left, then we'll be addressing this in the end. So these are the different areas in which data analysis can be performed in the healthcare domain. So healthcare data is actually a very complicated form of data, and that is why I'm taking the example of it in order to explain certain aspects and certain challenges of data analytics. So healthcare data is complicated as it comprises of many things. It could be a combination of you will find a lot of structured data, and you will also find a lot of unstructured data in the healthcare domain. Some clinical notes would be there, but on the other hand, some Other HL7 based, standard based things could have certain codes attached to it. So maybe if somebody is being diagnosed with something and he wants to do the lab test related to that, the doctor is suspecting it. So he could have might be given or mark that test code that this patient should be perform this laboratory test, and then all the diagnostics will be associated to that lab test report. So it's actually an amalgamation of unstructured as well as structured form of data. And there are many other complications in the healthcare data. The healthcare data is also this data is also a kind of big data. You could have heard this word of big data. Big data basically possess four major properties, that they are voluminous, they have large volume, their velocity or their speed of arriving new data is very large. There could be a variety of data. I've just shown you in this slide that how it is how the healthcare data is actually utilizing a lot of different forms of data. So it has a variety, and it has some uncertainty, some vagueness involved in it as well. So big data is actually any kind of data which is following these properties, and healthcare data is a very good example of it. And this is a very challenging form of data, in which analytics or to utilize this kind of data is very challenging and sophisticated and specialized. Tools and techniques are now being, they are being researched, and now they are being generated, or they are being developed to, cater this kind of big data. The healthcare data, I'll quickly go. It could be, just give you an example. The variety of the data that you could have. These are just few examples. I just explained few minutes earlier that a lot of people are wearing, their wearable smart watches and other wearable kind of a fitness tracker, and some people are wearing the insulin tracker and other kind of medical devices based on their health condition. So all these devices are generating a large amount of healthcare related data. And apart from that, this is just from one person. I even explained that how one person is contributing to a large amount of data. But there are other things. Medical science is very complicated. You could have a disease related data, some genetics and genomics related data that can, help in assist in discovering new treatments for any particular kind of disease. Apart from that, when you go to hospital, and when you, especially if you are going to a hospital on a regular basis, then you could have a file maintained there. Your MR number would be assigned to you, and your history and all your records of all the treatment records will be there in that. Okay, so and EHR is other kind of data, which is actually electronic health record, which contains information about the patient from all providers involved. But EMR is a digital version of a paper chart that contains all of a patient medical history from one practice. Means agar aap, if you're going to eye specialist, and all the treatment, all the things that are being given to you with respect to that will be stored in EMR, and EHR will contain all the records that you could have gone to some dentist or some other treatment. So these are the all the record files, which sometimes hospitals stores manually. आप देखते होंगे वो जो एक assistants होते हैं doctor के, they start writing on the file, and sometimes this data is also electronic. So it's also an amalgamation of both paper-based data, structured, unstructured kind of data. So other than that, if you're running, if a healthcare facility could have a financial data, could have other administrative and logistic data, which is very important and critical in the case of medical domain, and some diagnostics related data, some images, X-ray images, ECG images data. Also, they are huge, they have huge application in terms of deep learning and other related domains. So what I'm trying to establish through this example is that reality is very complicated, and too many interconnected systems are working together, that is making this real world data very challenging to handle. And a reality is also complicated because there are too many interfaces which are working together, and which are providing and communicating with each other in order to perform the whole process, and in order to give the whole services, a complete package of services to a customer. So the real world data has many challenges involved because of these issues. So now with that, I will actually explain you guys that what we will be actually doing in this course, what will be the content of the course, and I'll also be given a quick demo. So basically, our whole journey revolves around this data analysis process, and this process basically starts with the data collection and the preparation step. We'll shortly see the details of each. Not the very detail of each step. We'll demonstrate in the demo as well each part of this process. So we'll be doing the data collection and data preparation, in which we will be mainly focusing on acquiring the data, and then we will actually perform some pre-processing, some fine-tuning of the data, so that it can be given to certain algorithms, so that they can perform some computation or manipulation on it. Then thirdly, I already said that exploratory data analysis, and which could be a statistical analysis, which could be a mathematical analysis. They are also performed. Some visualization based, graphical based analysis are also a part of this exploratory data analysis journey, that will give the insight in the data, so that you can understand what is actually what is inside your data, what kind of relationships are there in your data, so that any kind of predictive model or any kind of thing that you want to extract out of it, if you want to put or if you want to develop a certain model based on that data, then you should very clearly understand the relationship between all these components that exist in your data, all these relationships that exist in your data, and and this is the core focus of this exploratory data analysis phase. And then comes the model training and model validation. These are basically referring to the predictive part of data analytics, in which you will be learning some model to do some future predictions, and to maybe perform other sort of predictive analysis. And then finally, the application side of our whole journey would be in the form of a data visualization dashboard, in which we will be actually producing a dashboard for end users, so that the end user can see the useful statistics or useful insights from the data in a much quicker, in a much handy manner, by very illustrative dashboard and easy to comprehend dashboard. So this is actually the whole process, and our journey and our course will be structured. The part that I have made are structured around this process. So talking very briefly about what you will expect in these stages. So first, about the data collection and data preparation. So in this stage, as I said, your main focus is about the data source, the actual place from you are acquiring or gathering the data, your data origin, its frequency, how frequently it is being updated, what is the uncertainty in data, what are the things which are not clear in the data that you need to identify before moving ahead. And some data might be coming for our company. Maybe if you are making a solution related to data analytics, then the data might be coming from different sources. I just give you an example of healthcare domain in which you could have seen that how different sources are, are integrating together to produce one solution or to give one service, complete package of service to the customer. So the data could be coming from different sources, and the integration of it could be very challenging. And other things like data augmentation, you feel that your data is less, you need to somehow, generate more data. You need to assign some metadata or some annotation on your data, so that it, some tags should be assigned to your data so that they can be identifiable, or they can be, later on that label can be used in training some of the predictive models. So the next phase is data pre-processing, in which you'll be mainly dealing with the tuning of the data. Some of the techniques in this, and some of the techniques that we will be exploring in detail during this journey, how you cater the missing values, how you remove the outliers. Sometimes you need to normalize the range of data. Sometimes you need to form some sort of concept hierarchy inside your data. Feature engineering or data modeling is also done in this stage, in which you select certain set of important features. Maybe your data could comprise of a lot of fields and things that you won't be using it, or which are not meaningful for you, or which are not very meaningful in discovering any insight related to the problem in your hand. So what you do, you will actually do the feature selection process, and we'll also see some of the techniques how to perform feature engineering. All these things will be covered in detail in this part of our course journey. And then exploratory data analysis, identification of the trend, could be done through some mathematical computation. Some statistical techniques are also applied in this stage. Some visualization techniques are also applied in this stage to explore the correlation between different features which are present, which with different characteristics, different, you can say that different attributes of data, how they are correlated. This pattern is discovered through exploratory data analysis, and we'll be covering the details and of it, and how we will be doing that. We will do it when we'll inshallah ta'ala begin our course. So this is exploratory data analysis, and after that we will also be touching some predictive modeling approaches, in which we'll be covering basically regression based models and other probably we'll stick to supervised based modeling, but we could also one or two techniques of unsupervised, one or two unsupervised approaches could also be touched, maybe in the context of feature engineering. I'll be demonstrating you some of the unsupervised approaches as well. The main, this predictive modeling, probably you could have idea, and if you don't have the idea, then I'll obviously during the course I'll explain it in a bit detail. But if you have learned about machine learning, and if you have any idea about machine learning and deep learning and these predictive modeling kind of approaches, they need some sort of training on the existing data, and then they will be tested to check the accuracy of the prediction, and then they will be validated on the actual data, or maybe the runtime data के ऊपर उसको फिर run किया जाता है in order to validate it. So training and testing are usually the essential steps of predictive modeling, in which first you tell the machine that what they are gonna expect, and what kind of data will be there for them, and then you test that the model that you've trained is how much that model is accurate. If you find that your model is not accurate, then you might switch to some other model, or maybe do some fine tuning in some of the variables or parameters related to your model. So all these things will be covered in detail as well. And apart from that, data visualization and the dashboard creation will be done as well. And you could have seen the dashboard at a lot of places. Even if we talk about COVID-19, you could have seen Government of Pakistan dashboard, which is actually updated, constantly demonstrating the number of cases in each of the provinces, and the death rate, the recovery rate, things like that. So we will be demonstrating the formation of a data visualization dashboard in this course as well. Apart from that, as I said, that text analytics, which is actually the analysis that we'll be performing on the unstructured kind of data, will also be covered in the last part of the course. And uh, some of the things that will be new in that part will be about NLP that you could not have seen in this journey that I have explained you so far. So some of those aspects will also be touched in the last part of this course, which is a kind of a bonus thing. So now talking about the tool selection, I have chosen Python because it's easy to understand, commonly used. Some of the people are, comfortable with R as well. So, but Python is easy to learn. It has a great many, libraries to, assist in a lot of deep learning, machine learning, data analytics related tasks. And this is in demand, very much in demand these days as well. So I'll be, as a core main language, I'll be using Python, and the environment in which I'll be writing the code is Google Colab. So I'll be shortly explaining you Google Colab if you have not seen what Google Colab is. But most of you, if you are doing if you're working in this computer science domain, you could have an idea. But if you're not from computer science domain, that you could have not used it. But it's very easy to use and given by Google. So we'll explore this as well. And for data visualization purpose, I'll be covering the Power BI tool, which is provided by Microsoft. And the reason why I'm choosing Power BI is actually Power BI is very good in doing the runtime analytics, or producing a dashboard demonstrating the runtime analytics. However, the other tools that we like Tableau, it could perform. It is also a very good tool, but it's more suitable for historical analysis of data. So other than that, for text analytics, I'll be using a library in Python, which is with the name of NLTK, a natural language toolkit, which is there. So I'll be using that for the text analytics part of my course. Okay. Now this environment setup. So as I said, I'll be using Google Colab. I'll be demonstrating shortly what kind of environment Google Colab will provide you. Then I'll start the demo. The data set which I'm using is, I obtained it from John Hopkins Center for System Science and Engineering. And I'll also show you the outlook of this GitHub page and what you have in this page, what kind of data is available in this page. Some of you might have encountered it, but it could be a new thing for some of the other members which are with us. So before that, this is a link to my demo. I'll be shortly starting the demo. So you can register for our course at this a link which I provided here. And now I will actually start my demo. So I will stop sharing the screen, the presentation screen. Meanwhile, if you have any question till the time I am loading the demo and sharing the new screen with you, if you have any question, you may ask. We can do the discussion. Meanwhile, I'm, starting the demo and opening the demo file. Okay, so I hope that my screen is now visible and okay. So this is actually the environment, the Google Colab environment in which I'll be coding um, during majority of the time. Uh, this this environment is provided by Google, and it simply operates with the help of this Google account. I'm sure majority of you are already having a Google account, so it's not an you know signing into it is not a problem. So when you will open the Google Colab environment, uh, as I'm loading here, so you'll find that the Google Colab environment is actually providing you two kind of options to do in your notebook. One is to you can insert a code, and the other is you can maybe write any text like in other languages like uh, Java, and in C++ we would be writing comments. So these are the comments, or maybe you can say that these are the very handy features in understanding the code and for what purpose you are performing something. So this is a very handy part of it, that along with the code you can embed your text and you can write the description and other details into it, so that the code can be comprehensible for the other person who is looking at your code. And other than that, these are the standard options. How you can save the file, how you can create the versions of your code. You can also post or put your things on GitHub through this. So and other like text related options, copy paste or the thing which I want to tell you is that a runtime tab will give you the option to run the whole notebook at once, or the Google Colab environment is specifically handy because it actually helps you in running each part of the code separately. So you can do both ways. You can do run all option, run before, run after, or maybe you can choose cell by cell, like the way I'll demonstrate here. I'll demonstrate cell by cell output to you, and then till the end we reach our demo, notebook, this demo end. Okay, so the first thing I would like to explain you is that data analytics should be done with some purpose. There should be some problem, there should be something that is not clear, which actually you want to make clear by making the analysis on the data. So that problem, that objective should be there in your mind. So that's very important. So you cannot perform your analytics at random, because if maybe you are doing things at random just to check, but there should be some problem, some objective behind which your whole analytics cycle will run, and your data, how you'll tune your data, what relationship are useful for you with respect to that data, they all depend upon that objective. So what I did, I actually set up the objective for this notebook, and I simply insert the text part, and what I want to do is to actually analyze the last 2 months of data for Pakistan and other countries, and compare the severity of the COVID-19 between Pakistan and other countries. And I will be I have also built a regression model in this notebook, which is actually predicting the next 20 days forecast. So the data source, as I explained, is from GitHub. I will be opening this data source so that you can have an idea that what you will find in it. So in this GitHub repository, you could have a different sort of data. The README file is also there. Okay, I have a question related to the role of data warehousing in data analytics. So, data warehousing is a correlated field in data warehousing. I'm just addressing this question. But it is something, not the whole data analytics, because data warehouse is something which will end at ETL. it give you insight about some historical perspectives of your data. आप अपने data को integrate कर लेते हैं data warehouse के अंदर, अपने historical data को, maybe a company उसका कोई sales का data है, anything that is actually being put in the data warehouse, ETL perform किया जाता है, extract, transform, load, different data sources से data को extract करके उसके ऊपर जो भी data pre-processing या fine tuning करनी है वो करके उसको data warehouse में load कर दिया जाता है। फिर वो data warehouse आपके query मुख्तलिफ जो आपकी data की के ऊपर आपने insights लेने के लिए query perform करनी होती है, उसको परफॉर्म कर रहा होता है। It's actually it certainly doesn't have to do much with the predictive modeling. It's actually learning insights from your historical data that you have, and it is actually you can say that the sibling of this whole domain, or some of the techniques are they are used in a mixed manner in data science, data analytics, data warehousing, and that is something that I'll be exploring the differences between different terminologies. When I started my journey in data science and I started to explore this field, I got very confused with so many data terminologies in the field. So what I did, I first developed my clear understanding of what these things are, and I'll also impart that knowledge to you guys in day one of our course. So at the moment, I'll continue to this demonstration. So this is the GitHub repository, and in this GitHub repository, we can find some data which are related to COVID-19, which are being updated on a regular basis. I will be using the time series data, which tells about the total number of, the number of confirmed cases every day, the number of deaths every day all over the world, and specifically US, because John Hopkins is a US university. And they are also, telling कि ये कब update हुआ है. So it has been updated lastly 7 hours ago. और जो 7 hours ago की जो date बन रही है उस तक का data इसके अंदर मौजूद है. Confirmed cases, deaths और recovered cases, और ये जो आप टीवी पे न्यूज़ वगैरह सुन रहे होते हैं on daily basis, जो updates आ रही होती है वो यहाँ से आ रही होती है. इसके अलावा WHO का भी कुछ reports on they are being generated on daily basis, which are there on this GitHub repository as well. But we will be mainly dealing with the time stamping part of the our basically time stamping data को हम use करेंगे. So just a second. Okay, so coming back to this demo file, first, as in any language, you have to import some of the libraries which are there to support or to help you in running the functions, the built-in functions provided by these libraries. And Python is a very rich language in terms of the libraries and these built-in libraries. So what I'll be doing, I'll be importing all these libraries, which are, some of them are like NumPy and Panda. They are related to data transformation, data analysis kind of task. Matplotlib is something which is for data visualization purpose. I have also uploaded the library for, inserted the library for the predictive modeling using the linear regression. And other than that, some other libraries are being imported in order to run this part of the code, and to make these libraries the part of my code. I'll press this button which is at the corner. That can actually tell me that all the libraries are successfully imported. After that, you'll find that in step 2, I have set up all the data. I have pulled all the data from the required data which I would be needing from the GitHub repository. I'll be demonstrating one of the time series data which was there in the GitHub repository. I have given the URL of the CSV file which is there on the GitHub repository. which is about the time series, which is a time series data of the confirmed cases globally, जो रोज के हिसाब से जैसे कि हम न्यूज़ सुनते हैं कि जी आज इतने cases report हुए. So all these data are available for all the regions, for all the countries are there in this COVID-19 underscore confirmed underscore global.csv file that I have pulled into my code. And what I'll be doing if I want to check that what kind of data is there or something like that. So what I'll be doing, I will first be pulling in since I didn't run the code for this CSV file inclusion in my code, so it gave me an error when I try to check that what comes with this file. So with the .head function, I'll be checking the content of this file. So you can say that this data in the GitHub repository about confirmed cases starts from first January 22nd, and it is going till May 20th तक का डेटा जो है वो इस GitHub repository में इस फाइल के अंदर मौजूद है. Similarly, I pulled in reported cases daily, the recovered, the recovered cases, the deaths, and all these kind of data. So there is also an interesting file in this repository is about the latest data, which actually sum up the total number of deaths, the confirmed cases, the active cases as per the current date, which in their system is actually last update is on 21st May at 04:20 and 43 टाइम स्लॉट. सो ये आपका तमाम समअप है जो कि जी अभी तक किसी मुल्क के कितने केसेस हुए हैं, कितने रिकवर हुए, कितने एक्टिव हुए, ये उसका एक्चुअली समअप है. जबकि प्रीवियसली जो हमने देखा था वो पर डेट जो केसेस किसी भी कंट्री में रिपोर्ट हुए हैं डेट वाइज वो है, जबकि ये अभी तक का लेटेस्ट जो रिकॉर्ड है जिसके बेस पे आप न्यूज़ चैनल्स में रिपोर्टिंग्स देख रहे होते हैं वो यहाँ पे इस तरह से मौजूद है. सो व्हाट आई विल बी डूइंग, I will actually close up this part and I will run all the cells so that all kind of necessary data that I want can be pulled in. After that, I'll perform the extract, transform, and load step, which is actually the combination of step part 1 part 2, 3, and 4 in particularly, especially part 2 and 3 of our course, in which we will be actually extracting the data, doing some handling of it if it has got some missing data, selecting some of the features which are important for us, and then we load it finally into our list data set that we want to manipulate and use it. We will I have actually run the code for this part as well. What I want to tell you that what I did from the data of confirmed cases, deaths reported, and recovered cases that I pulled earlier in this part when I was setting up the data, I just extracted last 2 month data. So what I did, I actually used the .log function in which I'll be selecting all the rows which are there for the last 2 months data. So if you see this data, I have already run the code, so that's why this data is loaded. So this data is from starting from 19 March and this is going till 20th of May. So last 2 month data, you could have used all the data, but just to demonstrate you that you could have selected certain things which are required to you, and maybe you are not interested in other things, then why you will overload your computation power. Then I'll be using some of and then I'll be generating some of the empty list which will help me in doing the calculation related to recovery rate, total recovered, total active cases, and some other statistics and some other scores which are specifically related to specific countries. And then I'll be using this information in discovering some of the correlations. So all these empty lists for different countries are being created. How I'll be using it, they will also be demonstrated soon. So what I'm doing next, I have actually created a specific list for all the countries. I have given specific country's name as the input as a field, and all the data related to these cases are pulled in and appended in this empty file, in this empty list that I have just created in the upper cell. So what I'll be doing with this, so just to demonstrate, these are if I will world cases. This is a list which I have actually initiated, or you can say that formed here. I declare it here, and then I append it with the total sum of all the cases for all the regions, and this is how this list will look like. Now the data from this list will be then used in different sort of calculations and manipulations. So you can extract things which are of your use into some list structures, and so that you can manipulate them and you can use them into different sort of manipulation, and in analyzing these kind of data. So if I now what I'm doing, if I want to show you that how I move towards step 4, which is actually about analyzing, or EDA, it's performing the EDA, the exploratory data analysis, for which I am defining a daily increase function. This is my user defined function, not built in Python. So a daily increase function is being defined, and for all the for all the countries, what I am doing, I am actually pulling out the data for each country related to the number of the cases, and then what I'll be doing in this, I will actually uh, passing on this list. Let's say I want to analyze the data for Pakistan in terms of death, or the daily increase in death. So what I'm doing, I'm calling this daily increase function, which is my built-in function, which I define here, in which I'm taking a list, and this list is actually subtracting the previous number from this current number to demonstrate the daily increase in terms of Pakistan, the day-to-day increase in this number of deaths. So we have done it for recovery cases, for recovered cases, daily increase in the recovered cases, daily increase in the एक्टिव केसेस व्हाटसोएवर. सो आप इस तरह से मैनिपुलेट कर सकते हैं, आप डेली डिक्रीज को भी एनालाइज कर सकते हैं बाय जस्ट मैनिपुलेटिंग few twisting few things in this user defined function. So other than that, what I want to show you is that in step in the next interconnected step, I will what I'll be doing, I will actually extract the list of countries, the unique list. Because अगर हम इस डेटा को देखें जो यहाँ पे हमने लोड किया था, if I'll show you that data, तो इसमें जो एक कंट्री है उसकी जो बेस्ड ऑन द डे टू डे बेसिस, या एक कंट्री के साथ उसका रीजन या उसका प्रोविंस भी अटैच है. सो ये एक ऐसी चीज हो सकती है जिसमें कंट्री की रिपीटेशन हो सकती है, बिकॉज अफगानिस्तान का कोई प्रोविंस, या लेट्स से टेक एन एग्जांपल ऑफ आवर कंट्री पाकिस्तान. सो वी हैव डिफरेंट प्रोविंसेस. सो पाकिस्तान could have appeared in this these row 5 or 4 times, 5 times, considering के हमारे 5 provinces हैं. So हमें इसमें से इस पूरे उसमें से यूनिक कंट्रीज की लिस्ट मालूम करनी है, ताकि हम जो एनालिटिक्स वगैरह परफॉर्म कर सकें वो उन यूनिक कंट्रीज को फिल्टर आउट हम कर लेंगे, और फिर वो यूनिक कंट्रीज की लिस्ट हम देंगे, ताकि हमारे पास ये चीज़ें अवेलेबल हों कि हमें कौन सा जो है वो कंट्री के लिए वी आर पुलिंग इन द डेटा. So after this getting this unique list, what I'm doing, I am actually bringing in the data for all the I'm skipping all the countries which are having 0 cases, and now I'm pulling in the data of all these countries which are in the unique list. I'm summing their confirmed cases, their deaths, their recoveries, and other things. And after that, what I'll be doing, I'll be using this unique countries information and the, let's say, other things that I have pulled related to these countries, like total number of confirmed cases for that country, the total number of deaths for that country, the total number of that I have calculated by using the dot sum function. मैंने इसको करके इसको किया था, and then I generated this grid based data chart जो कि sort out हुआ हुआ है number of confirmed cases के base के ऊपर. Or you can see that the power of data analytics, that the intensity of a value is being displayed with a much intense color code in the same color with the उसकी dullness या उसके जो sharpness है उसको control करके intensity ये list sorted हुई है number of cases के हिसाब से. So you can have seen कि आपको किस जो country है उसमें आपको किस हवाले से ज़्यादा values नजर आएंगी. For number of cases, US and India are the leading ones, and for the number of deaths, they are also the leading ones. And for number of active cases, US is the leading one as per this data. Number of recovered cases, India is leading, but you may find other values deep down when you go in this hierarchy. Similarly, what I have done, I have also demonstrated the same thing for the unique provinces, because I have just shown you that you have the provinces field in that thing as well. So you could have find Pakistan's province Punjab, Sindh, and other provinces in there as well. So it is actually taking out all the unique provinces which are there, and now it is actually doing the same functionality for these provinces. So what I want to show you is that I want to show you what I have done with this. So again, this is a province-wise view. The top performance in terms of the provinces are there. Like we can see at the row 93, our province Sindh is there, और उसकी stats दिए हुए हैं. Or another province, Jammu and Kashmir, is also listed, which unfortunately they are correlating with India. So anyways, now coming to some of the insights about the visualization that we will be doing. So this is just a glimpse of what how you can so here I have generated a horizontal bar graph and compared the number of cases that confirmed cases with respect to Pakistan and other regions. So you can see that the number of confirmed cases in Pakistan with respect to outside Pakistan is very considerably very low, and it's not very obviously seen in the in this. I think I have done some mistake here as well. Maybe I'll run this code again. Okay, so it's because I have not this error is being generated because I have not run the other previous things. So just want to demonstrate you कि यहाँ पे जो चार्ट बना हुआ आ रहा था वो एक कंट्री को बाकी तमाम कंट्रीज के डेटा से वो कर रहा था. I will fix this soon, but I'll now move towards the other chart that I want to show you. This is the chart for top 10 countries that I have generated with respect to all the other countries of the world. So in this top 10 countries, US and India are again leading in terms of the number of confirmed cases. But overall, obviously, if you compare their total numbers with the remaining of the world, obviously that bar is showing a higher result. So again, I have used this pie chart function to pass. I have actually defined all these horizontal bar graph function and pie graph function, and I'm passing the list from which I want them to extract the data that I have just shown you earlier as well. So by using these lists or the data from these lists, these pie chart are being drawn by the function that I have just written over here. जब मैं इसको ये पास कर रही हूँ तो वो उसके अंदर से डेटा को निकाल के इन टर्म्स ऑफ द यूनिक कंट्री मुझे पाई चार्ट ड्रॉ करके दे रहा है. Last but not least, this is the predictive analytics part, in which I am basically, what I'm doing, I am trying to predict the data for next 20 days, starting off with the first date which is there in the data set, which is 22nd Feb 2020. I showed you earlier. What I'm doing here is that I am just formatting the style of the data, that month, date, and year will be there, will be given as input date, and then I'm splitting the data set into train set and the testing set in this step. The splitting of data, in this splitting, I am keeping 75% of the data which is available is as a training data set, and I am just loading 25% of data and using 25% of data as a test set. Then I am fitting my model, my regression model I'm learning my model for the train data set, and then I'll be using that to predict the same for the test data set, and then the test data set will then learn the future forecast of the next 20 days, because test data set के अंदर next 20 days मौजूद नहीं थे. हमने यहाँ पे next 20 days का predict करवा के what we have done, we have actually plotted this graph, and we can see that हमारा जो model है, it's not a very good and accurate model. I have made the conclusion here as well, and because it's deviating from the predicted model, the test data is deviating. So there's a variation. There are some some measures to judge the accuracy of your model, which I have also incorporated here, which I'll be explaining in detail when we'll be covering the course in detail. And then I've made the conclusion that probably I need to experiment with some other models. Probably I need more data to train my model, or probably I need a better model. This model is not a very good fit in terms of my in terms of what I want to predict. So this is how I can take up this whole journey, and how we'll be extending this thing. So we will be learning extensive amount of data visualization techniques rather than simple bar graph and simple pie charts and the simple grid-based graphs, some map-based representation, tree-based, map-based, heat map will also be incorporated. And in terms of the predictive model, we will enrich our knowledge with some other models that are there. We'll be demonstrating it. So that's how we will be enriching this particular piece of code. And apart from that, a dashboard will be built based on that data, which is there on which probably we could have manipulated, because Power BI has the option to manipulate the data, like the way we are creating some of our own list and manipulating or creating some and calculating some of the measures on our own. So that's how we will be doing in the dashboard, and we'll create a proper dashboard for the COVID-19 management as an outcome of our learning. And we will be also using NLTK in this platform of Google Colab, and we'll be demonstrating you how you can perform the text analytics and get insight from the unstructured kind of data. So that's it. This is it from my side. I hope that what I have explained is understandable to you, and that can give you an idea that what our course would be all about. So that's it from my side. And if you have any question, you may ask. And I'll also, now give a chance to the organizers, Dr. Adnan and Ayman, that you may take up to end the session.
Thank you very much, Dr. Avia. It was indeed a very insightful session, and I hope everybody has learned something out of it. And I'm looking forward to your course. The course will be starting from tomorrow, so it will be a weekend course. And it will be just 1 hour investment of your time. So I hope that it won't be stressful for anyone to join, and you will get a much more detailed overview and the description of all the concepts that Dr. Rabia presented today. If there were some questions, but I hope we try to answer them during your talk. So, apparently there are no more new questions. You guys can visit AI Lounge website. We have left a link to the course page in the chat box. Do check that. The course again will start from tomorrow, and it will be Saturday and Sunday offering for next 5 weeks. So I'm hopeful that we'll be seeing you all in the course as well, and keep learning. And thank you very much for your time and attention. This is goodbye from my side as well.
Thank you all. Allah Hafiz from my side as well.